Welcome to Wulfdan's Voice ASMR, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of painting. I'm not painting this chap, this is Manfred von Karstein. I painted him previously, but I'm using him, I'm going to keep him close by. I'm using him as a bit of a guide to my colour palette, because some of these I have now, having rebased them, giving them a bit of a spray paint in a Shabty brown colour. So I'm going to be doing some painting. I've got my brushes, I've got a little selection, I've got my little water pot here, and I have some paints just here, and a little handle to put them on. So I'm actually going to start with this chap because he looks nice and simple, lots of bone colour. So let's pop him on my little paint handle, pull this across, put him in situ like so, and that just prevents you having to have your fingers all over the model all the time. And I'm going to start with a contrast paint called Skeleton Horde, and I'm not going to water this down with Larmony medium or anything. I'm going to go straight from the pot onto the model, which is a little bit controversial. Most people like to use a bit of Larmony medium or water just to water it down a little bit, but I am going with straight out of the pot because I want quite a kind of dirty, dark, skeletal. Like immediately you can see the difference there, hopefully. A dirty, dark kind of skeleton. Feel like they've been in the earth for quite some time. So this is a contrast paint, which means it's like a bit like a dye, I suppose. A very watery colour, but with quite a high pigmentation. So it sinks into the recesses beautifully, giving you a real good kind of depth to the model, whilst I'm going to need a smaller brush for that bit, whilst also staining the upper level of the model, but it stains it fairly uniformly, which is good. So, as you can see here, he's starting to look a little bit more like a skeleton, slightly less washed out. I'm just going to rinse this off. You can hear any popping or crackling in the background, by the way. Giving myself a nice Saturday afternoon ambiance. So I've got a YouTube fireplace up on my TV, so you can hear the fire going. Now that was a medium shade brush that I was using. I'm actually now going to use a medium glaze brush, which is a thinner end. And continue with this. I've got a few little areas I need to get into, and I don't want to get the bone colour everywhere because I want to use contrast paints all over this model for all the different colours and textures. And then the idea afterwards is to do a little bit of dry brushing, just to bring out the upper edges on the model, and then it should be quite a simple paint job to replicate across an army. That's the idea. Anyway. So, a little hip bone there, sticking out. I need to get that. And the underside of his arm here. There's the back of his hip bone, so I'll get that as well. And the underside of his sword arm as well. Now I'll try and be a bit careful here. I don't want to. I need to do his hand, but I don't want to get shade on the hilt of the sword just yet. I'm intending to use Gore Grunter, which is a brown shade. It's good for fur, but I'm thinking it might also look okay as wood. So for the wooden shield, for example, like the back side of the shield should be wood. A few of these models do have kind of broken, like this one's got broken wood type shields. So I'll use Gore Grunter for that. Again, just straight off the base coat and onto the model with the contrast paint. And then the metal bits, I brought Lead Belcher with me, which is like a dark gunmetal. And then later down the line, I won't be able to do it today because I need to let these dry in between. But later down the line, I will want to use some rust colours to give them all a bit of a rusty feel. I just need to get under his rib cage here, it's quite an awkward. Oh, I've just got on the sword. It was always going to happen at some point. Now, what you can do here is to try and at least get a little bit of it off by just using some water on your brush. It's slightly stained, but it's not too bad. That won't affect it too badly. In fairness, the gunmetal colour should go right over that. You won't really notice. So if I was going to get a little bit on anywhere, that was the place to do it. Now, his legs are bony and exposed as well. Let's just get under the sword here. This is a skeleton warrior model for... It was a Warhammer Fantasy model. And I've rebased it on a slightly larger base because I will be using him in Warhammer the Old World. Whether I actually end up ever playing games of it, I don't know. I would like to because I actually used to really enjoy it. It's a good social experience and some good kind of tactical battles and list building challenges that you can get with it, which I quite enjoy. Sometimes you'll find someone that is the perfect counter to your army and absolutely destroy you in a game, and then the challenge is trying to find a good counter to whatever it was that they brought to the table that was so effective against your force. But I mean, when I was younger, the gaming was really my Oh no, getting a phone call. Let's just pause that. I'll try and get back to him later on. If you're trying to relax watching this, a bit of Metallica coming through as my ringtone is probably not the most relaxing thing in the world. It's one of my old work colleagues, so Scott, Mr. Isaac, if you are watching this video, which I very much doubt, but if you are, thank you, you just interrupted me. Probably just woke a few people up in the process. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the main kind of part of the hobby for me now really is the enjoyment I get from this. It's very therapeutic. Just from doing a little bit of modelling and a little bit of painting. Oh, there we go, I think he's left me a message. You know what? Let's just put that on silent, which I thought I had done. And obviously hadn't. Not ideal. Right, where am I up to here? Is there any bone showing there? There is, just a little bit on this side. So I used to really enjoy the gaming, but now really, and for a little while to be honest, the modelling and the painting has been probably my favourite part of the hobby. Okay, so I think most of his bony bits are now done. So I'm going to let him just rest for a second. And probably move straight on to the next one. I might do a little bit more bone on another one or two before I start doing any of these bits of cloth. So I've brought it's called Flesh Tearers Red. I'm going to use that for some of the bits of kind of cloth and banners and things. And I've got Black Templar as well, which I will also use for the other bits. The theme, as you can probably tell from this guy, was kind of very, very red and black. For the vampires, he's got kind of bronzed armour, which I quite like, and then just a touch of ethereal here as a kind of a spot colour. So I need to do his base actually, I've not done his base. Yeah, so I'm going to try and match these guys up. He was painted before the days of these contrast paints, so it won't match up exactly, but that's kind of okay because he's a character unit, so it's alright for him to stand out a little bit, I think. Look a little bit different to the hordes of skeletons that will be accompanying him into battle. I do have quite a lot of these as well, so this is going to be a painstaking process. I've put, I think, about 15 so far onto their new bases, and undercoated them with this Ushabti Bone paint colour, and I've probably got the best part of 100 more, I imagine, waiting to have the same thing done. So a lot of skeletons, probably about 40 or so, more to do, I think. It's a bit of a guesstimate. I can't remember really what I used to have. And also a load of zombies. And they'll be a different challenge because they're not as simple as painting bone. Bone is really quite easy to paint. The challenge with the zombies will be a different kind of flesh tones and a lot of kind of raggedy fabric colours. And I'll have to try and work on the texture for the fabrics as well. So you can bring out different texture colours by kind of finishing it off in different ways, either a bit of dry brushing or, a kind of a thicker crosshatch with a fine highlighted brush afterwards or something like that. So the end effect can be really quite good. Do the back of this guy's arm underneath this shield here. Normally, I could do this all day really, because it is quite relaxing and therapeutic. I put you on airplane mode. How on earth are you still making noises? Maybe I'll just turn you off. I don't know how to actually turn you off.
There's nothing to stop you.
No. That was Siri. My goodness me, she just scared the bejesus out of me. Probably just scared the life out of you if you were asleep and Siri just woke you up. I apologise. Apparently it's impossible to make my phone quiet. I don't know what to do here. How do you turn off a bloody... I never turn them off anymore. Oh well, I think I've done what I can. It's on sleep mode and airplane mode simultaneously. If it keeps on beeping at me, I'm gonna be very upset with Apple and maybe go back to an Android again. Who knows? I need to get again under this rib cage. It's a very difficult bit to get to. You know what? I can't remember if I actually got to this bit on that last model. I'm going to have to pick him up and just double check. Do his hip bones. I'll be quite heavy with it there because that area is in shadow. So it would naturally look a little dark. Let's do your legs in a moment. I wonder what this chap was called. I'm going to go with Steve. Maybe I should give all my skeletons names, what do you reckon? Steve the skeleton. Although the downside, of course, then is, I suppose, if they die in battle, I'd be a little bit upset. I don't want Steve to die. You can tell you live on your own when you start having ridiculous conversations with yourself like that. Right, this is going okay. Okay, it's a little bit tricky differentiating which bit should be cloth. I've actually done a bit of bone here, which should be cloth, so now I'm going to have to do it all that colour and then just paint over it. And I'll probably use black on that bit so it will at least cover it up properly. That bit's cloth as well. Okay, I think we're good to go. Steve's looking alright. I mean, he's definitely seen better days, bless him. He was a bit emaciated, but voila, a little bit more. I didn't put it on my painting handle, did I? Oh dear. Never mind. Okay. Oh, do I want to take a break from skeleton? Yes, I think so. I'm going to go back to the first one over here, I think. The skeleton should be a little bit dry by now. And I'm going to do a bit of his shield, I think. Let's get a little bit more colour on him. Oh my goodness, why is my phone still making noises? What is going on? Right, I think black with maybe red bat wings, or red with black bat wings. Let's go red with black bat wings, I think. So, contrast flesh terrors red. I'm going to stick with this fairly small brush. Oh, this is going to be tricky. Actually, the black will go over it, so it's probably not the end of the world if I get red on the black bits. But that middle bit I want to do in bone, so I don't want red on that bit. And it doesn't really matter if I go over the edges as well, because they will be in the metal colour, which is very dark and will easily cover over the shade of red. I may have to use a solid black here rather than the contrast paint black, just to make sure it works. That's quite a nice red though, very vivid, stands out beautifully. And I'm going to do a bit of red as well on his. He's got this little bit of cloth coming off his sword, and that's another nice little spot for a touch of colour, just to brighten the model up a little bit. A bit more stressful here because I'm trying not to get red on the bits where I've done bone colour already. So, that ties around the pommel of the sword slightly. And goes right up underneath his hand. Okay. I'm not giving this one a name, have I? Bob. What do you reckon? He looks like a Bob, doesn't he? Alright, a little bit of red done. Very nice. I'll be able to do a bit of red on the next one as well, so he can sit off to one side. Let's I might do more red on this shield, and then a black cloth, or black on the shield, and then a black on the shield, and then a red cloth. Decisions. Let's go with red on the shield. The colour of the Vanguard's diets. That's the vampire lineage. Although, officially in the old world game, they are a recently defeated faction. And so the Von Carsteins don't really exist. So I am going to have to find a nice new backstory for this army. Either remnant of the defeated Von Carsteins or a different vampiric bloodline from elsewhere. I actually I bought the stuff to give them snowy bases. So there we go, another shield done. So the idea might be vampiric bloodline from the far north, maybe, bordering the Chaos Wastes. And I can have Bob match Steve here because he also has a little bit of red rag coming off the pommel of his sword. I just got a little bit of red on my finger, or my thumb even. Right. There we go. Again, just have that wrap around the pommel. Whilst desperately trying not to catch any of the bone. Perfect, that'll do. I'll move on to the black on them quite soon. Okay, I might do another bit of red whilst I've got the red out on this chap's shield. He's got a shield on his back before I do his skeleton bits. Doing the red is a bit more exciting, quite vibrant really. And Flesh Terror's red is a very kind of, it's got a very blood red feel to it. I do just realise that I have a cup of coffee sitting next to me that I made before I started doing this. I've got a horrible feeling it might be quite cold by now. This is another shield which will have a red background, and then this raised bit I'm going to do as a kind of black batwing hopefully look quite good. Now he's got no other kind of bits of fabric on him really, so there's a little bit. There's a little bit round his arm here, which might look good again in red. Oh, just getting into these little tight bits is really. It's been a while since I did any painting. It's been months and months and months and months. Possibly years really since I did any proper hobby painting, so you can tell I'm rusty because I've got a big splodge of red on the inside of the shield there, which I didn't want to, but again that would be metallic, so it's okay. It's okay, I can live with that. Spot coloured on that one. Now with this, I'm going to do this whole banner red, and then I'm going to try and paint some kind of a motif on it freehand. But I'm not confident enough to do that yet, so I'm going to wait until I've been painting a little bit longer before I start to attempt any freehand motifs on there. Just clean that brush off. Perfect. Put it back in its. Put it back in the little sleeve to help stop it from fraying. Let's try this coffee. Surprisingly still warm. Brucey bonus. Okay, I have been filming for 32 minutes. Should I take a break? Or should I plough on a little bit? I might plough on a little bit actually. Let's get the medium shade brush out again. Because with this skeleton, he doesn't really have any more cloth on him. I think I can be a bit more slapdash. With the old skeleton colour. So, I'll fix him in there. Just move you out of the way. And he painted the camera by mistake there. That wouldn't have gone down too well with work. Why has this camera got paint on it, Dan? Oops. Right, a bit more skeleton hard. So as you can see, this guy is very little in the way of cloth or anything, so I'm going to start with his legs and work my way up. And with a bigger brush it should be a slightly speedier process. Hopefully. I did the hip burn here. I still forgot to check whether I had done underneath the rib cage of that first model. Let me have a look now before I do anything else and forget again. I hadn't. There we go. And now I have. Good job I remembered to check. That would have been really annoying to find at the end. miss bits, and it is quite frustrating. Oh goodness, I had a bit too much of this skeleton hard contract paint on my brush then. That's gone on a bit thicker than I intended. Let's spread it out. See, after these guys I've had a bit of a dry brush highlight of there's a paint colour called Screaming Skull, which is not quite white, it's a very pale bone colour, which is perfect for highlighting skeletons. As you can probably tell by the name, I assume that's what its intent was. Oh, the red hadn't dried there, I've just spread the red. Oh no. This is why you're supposed to wait between colours. Oh, I'm just trying to get that off here. Right. I had a bit of red that hadn't dried, and now I've managed to spread it all over a part of the model that was supposed to be just brown coloured. I think I've just about managed to salvage that. These are just the foot troop models. I have a bit of a theory, which is that I like to do, and let's use the smaller brush, is that I like to do these kind of massed infantry models to tabletop standard. So they look great on the tabletop, but if you take a bit of a closer look, you can tell that they're not quite to the standard of the character models. And then the character models, like Manfred von Carstein that I showed you at the start, I will spend a long time on those to try and make them look the very best I possibly can. I am by no means a kind of an expert painter, nowhere near, but there are people out there who can paint, oh wow, absolutely phenomenal paint jobs. I've got a few friends who were kind of good enough to do commission style painting, where other people who don't enjoy that aspect of the hobby would actually pay them to paint their models for them, because they were really exceptionally good. I've never been that good, but I do enjoy the process, and when I put in the effort they do tend to look quite good. Certainly good enough for me to be very happy with them, so that is the important thing. I don't know if I get my enjoyment of this off my mother. My mum's an artist, incredibly good painter, never liked the stage of selling paintings. I think she sold one or two, but never like as a professional thing, just purely as a hobby. But she very much enjoys that kind of artistic kind of output, and so do I. Get a great sense of satisfaction from taking essentially a few bits of grey plastic clipping them out, sticking them together, sometimes doing a little bit of conversion work, mixing things around to make the model look a little bit more individual. Then basing them, undercoating them, painting them until the finished article looks absolutely fantastic, and it's a real sense of achievement at the end. Like when you pump a load of hours into a good video game and you get to the end and it's like, yeah, look what I did. There we go, another skeleton on his way. Right, I think maybe I will take a pause there because there's only so much painting I can do before I start to get a little bit of a sore neck from having to crane over. So I'm going to take a break and probably watch a bit of football because it's Saturday afternoon and my beloved Manchester City will be playing later on. So pop that away. But I'm glad I've made a start. I'm glad I've made a start. And hopefully at some point they'll look like the finished deal. This is a long way from being one of my best efforts, but I think he looks quite decent. Just need to finish off this base for him, and then he will look finished. Thank you. If you've been watching this just out of interest, then drop me a like and a subscribe. If you've been watching this purely to relax, then I apologise for the rude interruption of my phone earlier, but I hope you have found it very relaxing. And I wish you a good night's sleep or just a good rest and a sit down, whatever it is you're achieving right now. Take care, and I'll see you next time.